Hey team, this quick tip is on using weather forecasts. And I'll tell you a story to teach the lesson. 2 weekends ago, I was sailing Etchells in Miami, and Sunday was supposed to be a really tricky day. The forecasters didn't really know what was gonna happen, and a few days out, they really didn't know, but as it got closer and closer, they got a little better idea, but said it would be variable. And then Sunday morning, the last day of the event, they had to make a call, and we were using a high-level weather forecaster from Europe, who's one of the best in the world. We were also using Chelsea, who is a awesome weather forecaster from the United States, works with the US sailing team. And then we also look at apps like Sailflow and Predict Wind, windy.com. And I use an app called LuckGrib, which allows you to look at files and actually go minute by minute throughout the day and watch the wind increase and change if it's supposed to. You can also drag the cursor around different parts of the race course and see if there's going to be any shear or different wind in different parts of the race course. I'm going to do a separate tutorial on that app because it's really cool. But this tip is basically this. And Dave Ullman, my coach, taught me this. You should look at a few different forecasts. And even on one website like windy.com, they have different models like GFS, the European model, the HRRR, which is high resolution rapid refresh. That one updates more often than others. Some of those, if you look really closely in the fine print, update every hour. Another HRRR updates every few hours. The GFS and the European model update less frequently, but it'll tell you if you look in the details when the last time it was updated. So the tip is look at a few different forecasts, and maybe they're all very similar, and that tells you there's a high confidence in the day, but sometimes they're all over the map. And in this case, we had an approaching front from the southwest coming towards Miami, a bunch of rain and thunderstorms, and people were unsure what the wind was gonna be. A lot of people said it was gonna be southwest, going to northwest throughout the day, which would be hard for the race committee. Some said it'd be from the south, going to southwest, and only one forecast before we went out had it from the east, and then rapidly going towards the south during race time. So with all those thoughts in my head, you could easily get confused, but the best way to use those is to go out and then see what the wind is. And if it's like one of the forecasts, you can disregard the others. So that's the tip. Look at a few different models, a few different websites. You can hire weather forecasters if you like, but it's nice to read a few and don't let it confuse you, especially if they're all different. Just go out there and see if one or two of them are jiving. Assuming in the morning there's a lot of different forecasts, which on this Sunday it was. Most had it southwest going to northwest, but we get out there, it's from the northeast. No one had that in the forecast. So I thought, that's most similar to the HRRR, which was the most updated. Right before I left the dock, we weren't allowed to look at our phones on the water, so I looked right before I left the dock. That was the most similar, and I thought, well, it's from 50, 60 degrees. It's probably gonna go to the east and then probably keep cruising all the way to the south, if that forecast is right. And so far, none of them are right, but that's the closest one. So while we're out there tuning up, the weather stayed actually pretty similar, and it was windy. No one had that from the northeast, but then it started to die. And I thought, okay, no one had big breeze, but it's starting to die now. Maybe it's gonna go to the east. So I had some confidence to protect the right side of the course, because it's from the northeast, 40 or 50 degrees, and it's probably most likely gonna go to east. A lot of the forecasts had it at southwest, so I thought, what's the fastest way to southwest? You could justify maybe either way, but it's a little less distance traveling to the right. So during the first race, the wind died a little bit and the right came in. The wind started to go to the right. So we had a good start near the committee boat, sailed for a little bit, and then tacked and headed off to the right. And it was puffy and shifty, but big picture, it went right. And during the whole race, it went right. So by looking at the forecast in the morning and then going out there and seeing which one is the most accurate, you can then make an educated guess that that forecast is pretty close, and you can disregard the other ones. After race one, the wind was from the east, just like that forecast said, and it started marching right. And the forecast said over a 2-hour period, it would go like 50 degrees to the right. And that's what was happening. The race committee eventually abandoned the day because big storms were coming. And every 5 or 10 minutes, the wind went another 10 degrees right, and they couldn't set a fair course. The boat became favored. The weather mark was too far left. They move it, they move it, they move it. Finally, they said, let's go in before lightning strikes. So I was proud that day I picked the most accurate forecast, used it to determine the wind was going to go right. I protected the right, and it paid off. Good luck.